if you could have 5 flourishing medicinal plants growing in your garden, what would you choose?
Yeah, so you just brought up St. John's wort, and that is actually number one on my list. And the reason why is because if you're going to make a St. John's wort infused oil, it needs to be made with fresh St. John's wort. So I can't, you buy it online, you dry, and it make you big medicine. It needs to be fresh, sort of like jewelweed. It's easier to remember the ones that need to be fresh rather than the ones that don't.
What's the growing cycle season for St. John's wort in your garden?
You know what? I don't know. I've never grown it, but I know that it is number one on my list of if in this hypothetical, if I could have 5 flourishing species in my garden.
But you're growing your garden. You're on that. I know this.
I am coming. And it is number one on my list. So specifically because I want to work with your fresh St. John's wort. That is why it's number one on my list. Now, number 2 on my list is elderberries, just because I use so much of it. And number 3, Jamie Burleigh, OSHA. The reason why OSHA is on my list is because this hypothetical. If I could have any 3, or 5 herbs flourishing in my garden, the reason why it's on my list is OSHA is incredibly difficult to cultivate and grow. It also needs to grow in certain locations in order for it to have the struggle that makes it big medicine, right? So on my dream list would be OSHA.
Yeah, you need, 5,000 to 6,000 feet of elevation. That's where it starts to get good. Yeah. I mean, we could go into OSHA, but I love OSHA. Go ahead.
Well, I do think it's worth noting that some herbs are particularly known for being strong from certain parts of the world because of the struggle. And that's a real concept, people need to understand, is that sometimes if you grow an herb in some other elevation or some other, condition, it might be the wind. A lot of times an herb, think about, chaga, for example. It grows on birch trees way up north in the cold, right? That's part of what makes it big medicine, is the struggle of where it actually likes to live. There's this thing about that.
I feel, and this is your interview, but when you're talking about bare root and you're talking about chaga and you're talking about struggle in location, it has a lot to do with location.
Oh yeah.
The vitamins and minerals, the intensity or the oxygen in the air or lack thereof makes it a more robust plant. Chaga is a fungus that happens. It's a disease, but it's crazy that disease that in the natural world happens so rarely. There's chaga all over the place, but honestly, 1 in 70,000 birch trees or something like that. I don't know what it is. That it is so life-giving in the properties it has if you catch it at just the right times. And if you add it to other surrounding plant medicines, it can do more for you. Okay. So when I'm going to say first peoples, the people that were using this for medicines all the time were migrating. They were using the fish from the spawn, the animals' migration, the lack of these animals, and they were then picking the berries and the spring greens. When they were moving, they were also moving with the rate of growth in their exact location where they're at that time. And that's really, what is it called when you're growing life? When you are not inhibiting, but you are propagating growth or life. And that's really important when you're in tune with your surroundings and you're really living of the land. You're being sustained from what the earth is giving you. That's where all of this kind of makes sense. And plant medicine is natural medicine, is everything we really need if we understand it fully. All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
actually, I want to take a moment to go off of what you just said as well. So, and I know you're going to know the answer to this, but you were saying about how sometimes it's the other plants in the near vicinity to a particular plant, right? So, I mean, the one that everybody here needs to know, if you're watching this and you don't know this, please write this down. What's the plant that almost always, very frequently grows near poison ivy? That can be helpful helpful as a prophylactic so that you don't get poison ivy. Jewelweed. Jewelweed and poison ivy grow often in the same location. And isn't it interesting how Mother Nature, if you will, has arranged these things as they are?
In that, we know that only because in our realm of outdoors and our outdoor knowledge of these plants and plant medicine, if we're out in the woods, you're going to get poison ivy, and it's really nice to know how to treat that. You know, and I don't want to say treat as in cure, but there's nothing like cleanliness. All right, and I'm going to go even further than our plants talk here. If you want to stay healthy, you need to stay hydrated on the inside and the outside. You need to be clean, man. You need to be clean. We're carrying lots of germs, and we can flush our bodies and we can wash our bodies. If we have the capabilities of using water, use it. Period. Okay.
So
sorry.
I've got the question was the 5 flourishing medicinal plants in my garden. I've only mentioned 3: St. John's wort, elderberries, osha. Now, the question was, if you could have, well, my number 4 is going to be cannabis because I can't, but if I could, I would, because there are medicinal uses, for that, and I don't shy away from that. Number 5 is golden seal because it's so over harvested. Golden seal has been used for so long and has been over harvested that if I would feel much better about using it if I were growing my own. And so that's going to be my number 5.
You know, I find that almost as hard to find as ginseng. You know, it's not as easy to find as like bloodroot. Golden seal, to get the root that size, you got to look. You really got to look.
So you can appreciate me wanting that in my top 5 because golden seal is so wonderful. But I often use herbal substitutions like Oregon grapefruit. I'll use barberry. There are a number of things that you can use instead of golden seal, but in some applications they're not as good.
I don't know about not as good. I think it's overlooked a lot because it is just scarce. People would use it if it was more prolific.
And I that's why I would want it in my 5. So what, we've got one more question left, is that right?
Yes, from John O'Donnell. Here it is. It says, my question is probably out of left field, but I have to ask about the blues band you are a part of, and does it influence you or your apothecary side?
So I love this question. I'm not in a blues band. I just go to a blues jam every Thursday night. I'm not in a band. It's just a jam. But the reason why I like this question, and you actually set this up also, Jamie, a minute ago, talking about water, because this is the way that I'm going to answer the question about what does me going to a blues jam every Thursday have to do with home apothecary. It's this. Brother, I do not want to talk to you about what herb is good for this, that, or the other thing if you're not staying hydrated, right? So the question is, hey, what's a good herb for this? Well, okay, wait a minute. Before we start talking about herbs, are you drinking water? Right? Are you taking care of yourself in all of the other ways that should be normative to human beings? right? Are you doing those things? Because let's not go to herbs before we've gone through things like, are you drinking water? What's your diet like? You know, these sort of, are you exercising, right? Don't think that some herb is going to magically, you know, negate all of the effects of you not drinking enough water, not eating right, not exercising, all of that, right? Okay. So I'm answering the question about, well, what does you playing blues have to do? It's self-care, man. I'm trying to take care of my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health. I'm trying to take care of my soul, right? And before we start talking about what herbs are going to help with that, how about we listen to music? You know, how about we play music? How about we drink more water? You know, there's a lot of crazy people out there with all kind of crazy ideas. And I guess me being one of them crazy people, it's that, look, man, music is healing. And so what does it have to do with herbs and home apothecary? They're on the same team.
Yeah.
You know, I need to take care of myself and do the self-care that I need to do so that I don't have to go to the health food store and find some herb because my body keeps telling me, like, dude, there's something wrong with you. I need to take better care of myself so that I don't need to rely on an herb.
Yeah, man. I love it. I love it. All right. What are we going to give away? How are we going to give away? Tell me what we're going to do here.
Well, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to hand this off to Lee here in a minute. But look, I've got 4 copies of my Firesider book here. See right there, it says Rosemary Gladstar and friends. Well, I'm one of them friends.
Well, gentlemen, and all of the watchers or viewers of the lodge, and everybody else that will see this, thank you for joining in. Lee, thank you for all your help and support help.
Yes.
For everything.
Thanks, Lee.
And thank you, Jamie Schmotzer, for being a part of this in this interview. We will have this once a month, this interview with our showcased instructor. Next month is going to be Mark Eberts, and you'll know all about Mark.
Congratulations.
Yes, you will all know all about Mark, if you didn't know about Mark, by the last week of February, and we're going to be doing the same thing. So we're going to try and keep it down to an hour. We're going to be asking questions a week or two before the interview so we can ramp up for these interactions and giveaways. And he is also going to be giving some stuff away. So we're going to be giving back. We want to learn more about the instructors that are actually teaching us these things and these skills. And thank you for being part, and I really like the way this flowed and how this all turned out. I'm really glad that everybody stuck around and watched us.
Thank you. Jamie, it's always good talking with you. I think that's why it was so easy to do this for over an hour.
Yeah, I was listening to you. I can't ramble that long. And you're good looking too. Did you see that I combed my hair? Yeah, there you go. We're done. We're all did up. All right, Lee, I think we're done here. And thank you, everybody, for our first live interview in the lodge of our spotlighted instructor for the month of January. Thank you, Jamie Schmotzer, for everything that you do for us, and we will talk to you soon.
If you're interested in more content like this, you may want to join the Old World Alliance Facebook group. It's called The Lodge, and a quick link to get there will be in the description box below, owalodge.com. And if you're interested in exclusive content that will not be available anywhere on YouTube, you might want to become a member and subscribe to the Old World Alliance. And you can do that by clicking on the link below for jointheowa.com. Thank you very much.